Salcido joins us after a long while. This is, I guess it's the opening of the show is called the preamble. Here's our evening preamble. I'm the voice of America. Look at the title of this fucker. Idea. I declare. The idea that Trump deceived people is unbelievable, according to Tom Fitton, who I'm going to go out on a limb and say wears blush. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's totally fine. But, as they said in the old country, ladies, whores wear blush, ladies pinch. Just kidding. I don't know where I heard that first. It was like at a play or something. All right, here we go.
Just getting some breaking news in now.
Ooh, breaking news. Whoop, why are you not playing?
Decision on that baseless lawsuit brought by Trump-hating New York Attorney General Leticia.
Trump-hating, okay. Oops.
Organization. New York judge has just ruled in favor of James, saying that President Trump committed fraud and...
Yeah, because he did. He's going to lose his business license in New York, exactly like I said he would. And by the way, I said that was also a step you needed to take before you put him in jail, so that the mythology around him as this master businessman that they're trying to take down has to go before you can go after him because of his followers. You want to minimize as many people, innocent human beings that are killed by his lunatic lone wolves as possible in this process.
And insurers by overhauling his assets and he's
going to get his assets overhauled. Look out.
Rating his net worth on loan applications. Leticia James says Trump must pay a $250 million fine.
Which he doesn't have.
Now, with reactionist President...
Look, there she is with a bunch of gay people. I knew it!
To watch an author of a Republican...
Okay, I'm convinced he's CGI. This is, or he's wearing someone else's skin like Vincent D'Onofrio in Men in Black.
Tom Fitton. Tom, always great to see you.
That's not true. I mean, don't start the interview with a lie. That's not fair.
Sure, President Trump's going to appeal.
Also, why do you have your shirt open to the third button for an interview? I'm sorry. What is that?
But what do you make of the whole case? The fact...
Well, I think, baby, I'm just... Excuse me 1 second. I got to open this up. All right,
Charges were even brought to begin with.
Well, this was...
Well, as a non-lawyer...
Political investigation and prosecution of Trump prior to the criminal charges that were brought by James' Democratic ally, Alvin Bragg, and then obviously the Biden administration.
Obviously. This is kind of like Russia and, having to invade Ukraine because of NATO. Trump had to commit fraud. Biden made him commit fraud.
And it's no surprise the judicial system in New York is anti-Trump.
Yes, because they've spent the most time with him. And the more time you spend with him, the more anti-Trump you become, unless, of course, you're a lunatic.
He's a successful businessman.
No, technically he's not. Technically, legally speaking, he's a fucking fraud.
And the idea that any of these banks or anyone else was deceived by Trump's financial statements, to me, just is unbelievable.
Well, what's unbelievable? His financial statements. Try to, if you noticed what I did there. That's why I was found guilty of fraud, dipshit.
And so the summary finding by the judge is going to be a problem.
I would say.
President Trump in this litigation, but it's, again, most people rightly discount these investigations, and frankly...
No, they don't.
The politicized nature of the judiciary isn't helping.
The politicized nature of the judiciary? You mean the fact that Trump slanted the Supreme Court hard right in an effort to protect himself from comeuppance that was eventually coming, like some sort of like Russell Brand preemptive strike?
Reassure people that justice is being fairly administered. And I think politically this is just going to be another blip for Trump as he, proceeds with the campaign.
Yeah, it's just a blip. It's a blip. It's a $250 million blip in his inability to do business and any of his children to do business in the state of New York. Because, who does business in New York? You know what I mean? Especially Manhattan. Like, what businesses and what? I mean, do they even do any major business in New York anymore? I mean, come on. But hey, at least he can count on Ron DeSantis allowing him to set up shop and reopen the Trump organizations in Florida around Mar-a-Lago. At least he's got his buddy and the governor's. Oh, fuck.
Turn to some more politicization on the federal level. Senator Bob Menendez, his own party is asking him to resign.
Uh-huh. See how that works? See the difference? Look how confused fucking Fitton is. What? Don't tell me that, because I need plausible deniability on other shows where I'm supposed to pretend that the Democrats are okay with Menendez being a complete crook, but they're going after Trump for shit.
There are those of us who know the history here. Menendez has been on the outs since not going along with all of the Obama's anti-American agenda.
That's what it was. And what could be more pro-America than pockets full of cash and closets full of gold?
And given the abusive, crooked conduct of the DOJ in the last decade, should Americans be very leery of jumping to conclusions here on Menendez?
Yeah, that's good. It's a great idea. Go back Menendez right now. Brilliant.
Well, the problem with having a corrupted and compromised Justice Department, you can't, trust them to prosecute anyone in the...
Yeah, I mean, the FBI probably planted those gold bars and made Menendez look up on his computer how much is a kilo of gold worth.
...political system without asking the question of who benefits, right?
Well, I don't have to be asked, and I don't need to be asked who benefits from a closet full of cash. I'm fairly certain, chat room, speak to me. Would any of you benefit from a closet full of cash and gold bars? I think I could. I mean, obviously, if I discovered it in some sort of house, I would go, oh, clearly the person I'm spending the night near, around, or with is a massive drug dealer or a criminal. So when I steal this, I'm going to have to be very slick about it. But
and in the case of Menendez, he has a long record of
taking bribes and giving classified information to the Egyptians and selling his influence and getting paid in gold bars.
Scandalous behavior, to put it mildly. And he's on the target of the Justice Department for some time.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, Trump left him alone. See, during the Obama administration, they looked into him, and then Trump just kind of put it on pause. So did Trump benefit from what Menendez was doing? Did Menendez have sort of a gentleman's agreement with him about something?
And as I've noted previously, typically he would be part of that protected class, like Hunter and Joe.
No, there is no protected class.
Whose comparative corruption makes Menendez's alleged corruption seem really quite trivial.
No. Jared Kushner's makes everyone in the United States' corruption that they could possibly be up to look trivial by comparison. Donald Trump is a close second. Donald Trump got as much money as is alleged went to Hunter Biden and allegedly Joe and Shemp and Haley and Frank Biden and Shemp Biden and Zeppo Biden in one phone call.
And in terms of money and other misconduct. But because
other misconduct, right. So Menendez, we don't have any film of him with hookers and crack, so.
As you noted, that Menendez is not exactly on board with the
law, with obeying the law.
Radical agenda, certainly in foreign policy with respect to Cuba and Iran. He didn't have many friends in the Obama administration.
Yeah, but he had a lot of friends in Egypt, so that made up for it. I mean, you could just fly down there anytime.
And certainly doesn't have any friends in the Biden administration.
Right, yeah. And you would think, maybe, you know what, maybe they're just jealous. That's probably what it is, Tom. It's probably, Biden's like, I'm the only corrupt politician in this town. Menendez, you take a back seat.
And my question for the Democrats.
My question for the Democrats is, why aren't you looking at Joe's closets? Oh, you did. The FBI actually went through all of his closets because of the documents they found at the Biden Center, and so he allowed him to go through all of his properties, unlike Trump, who said he was raided and would let them into Okay.
him to resign now is what did he have to do in order to get you to call on him to resign? Is it?
Well, I think it was that they finally got enough information from one of their sources to do a search of his house. And when they did, they found piles of cash and gold and all kinds of other shit. This was a year ago. That's how long it takes to process these things. It's almost exactly in the same timeline as the Mar-a-Lago search and seizure warrant. And it played out at exactly the same timescape.
Criminal prosecutions. There's all sorts of other evidence of misconduct by Menendez that I would have thought would have caused some discomfort in the Senate, but their ethics committee blessed him previously. So now all of a sudden he's a bad guy, and
no, not all of a sudden.
Better way to distract from Biden corruption than to go after a Democrat who is no friend of the regime in terms of their foreign policy agenda.
I've said it quite often. Thank God for Judicial Watch because of all the great work you do.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, none of it legally binding, and probably I agree, by the way, all jokes aside, I'm very thankful that Tom Fitton is the person giving Donald Trump the worst legal advice he could possibly get and making him repeatedly admit to crimes on television because he believes what Tom Fitton has told him. He's that fucking stupid. So thank God there's someone as dumb as Tom Fitton feeding lines to someone as dumb as Donald Trump.
And it relies on something that we Americans call free speech.
It totally does. We Americans call it that. You know, the French don't even have a word for free speech. I think it's still 2 words, but they're probably French, so I don't care.
According to a recent poll from Real Clear Opinion Research, 1/3 of registered Democrats believe that Americans, quote, have too much freedom to speak freely. Tom, free speech.
On the Blaze, what'd you do? Show them a swastika? And yeah.
Is a bedrock principle of being an American. And I've often said that these.
Yeah, that, you know, there can be no limits on what we consider free speech. And that's why Salcido is a child porn advocate. Also, violent threats. You should have the ability to make violent threats against people, according to Salcido, while emailing child porn. That's what Salcido believes. No limits on free speech.
Pro-China Democrats no longer wish to continue being Americans.
The pro-China Democrats. Those would be who exactly?
Didn't this group of Democrats just kind of prove my point?
No.
Well, I mean, just look at the Biden.
Donald Trump wants to jail journalists.
And you've got a multi-billion-dollar effort to suppress free speech. It's not only the Biden administration abusing the powers of government to censor Americans by the tens of millions. You have these allied.
Well, no. Prove they're Americans first. Just social media accounts aren't Americans just because they say they're Americans. Bot accounts don't suddenly get citizenship. I know you guys want to give like sperm the vote and you know, deny eggs the same ability, but no, at no point.
Left-wing groups and academic forces.
The woke universities, Berkeley probably. All
geared towards suppressing speech. You have the European Union geared towards suppressing speech.
I don't give a fuck what the European Union does. We do our stuff by contrast. And the European Union, if you want to operate a multinational social media organization and they make different rules, tough shit. Convince them our rules are better. But Joe Biden is not on the hook for what fucking Germany says. And by the way, let's understand, one of the reasons why Germany has harsher rules is so that you can't just put swastikas up everywhere.
Transnational effort to suppress people's freedom of thought and freedom of speech. Freedom of
Fitton.
And those of us who oppose it, we're far and few between.
Few and far between. Not far. What am I talking about? He's not a lawyer and clearly not an English professor.
The being able to fight back, and thankfully the courts have kind of tried to restrain the Biden administration, but there's still too much censorship. And
yeah, terrible. I'm so sick of being censored, like you, Salcido, right here on Newsmax. I hate being censored while I'm talking to you on the internet on a video that anyone can see anytime they fucking want to.
First Amendment has never before, at least in modern American history, been under as much attack as it is now.
Okay, bullshit. We've had way worse book burning even in the country before. What the fuck are you talking about? You have access to more speech than you have ever fucking had. Limitations on social media weren't a thing 15 fucking years ago because they didn't meaningfully fucking exist. I wasn't denied my freedom of speech because I wasn't allowed to be on Twitter in 1986, fuckwad.
Under the Biden administration.
By Americans.
Oh, it's terrible. American on American crime.
Fitton, thank you very much. I always appreciate the good work you do in the visit.
In the visit. Thanks for visiting.